Okay, so this video is showing how to work out the problems from lesson 91, which you were assigned. Okay, so our first problem is number 3. This is on page 476. So number 3, they want you to draw a ratio box to solve this proportion. When the good news is announced, many leaped for joy, others just smiled. If the ratio of leapers to smilers, so I did L for leapers and S for smilers, is 3-2, and there were 12 leapers, how many smilers were there? So I used my ratio box, ratio and actual count, to form my proportion. 3:2, as 12 is to what? And so there was 2 ways you could go about this. The first way is you can say, well, to get from 3 to 12, I can see I can multiply by 4 on the top here, and then if I do the same thing on the bottom, 2 times 4, and I get 8 as my answer. Okay, so 8 would be the ones who smiled. Or if you wanted to start with your proportion and do our cross product method, okay, you would say 2 times 12 is equal to the question mark, which is our number of smilers, times 3. Okay, so then 2 times 12 is 24 is equal to 3 times S. Now if I know the product and I'm missing a factor, I can divide the product by the factor. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Okay, so there were 2 ways to solve that one. Number 5. Number 5 is from our lesson. Write the formula for area of a parallelogram. Area of a parallelogram, base times height. Substitute 15 centimeters for the base, 4 centimeters for the height. Base times height, 15 centimeters times 4 centimeters, and your answer is 60 centimeters squared. Okay? Next, number 6. How many degrees does the minute hand of a clock turn in 45 minutes? Okay, so I pictured my minute hand pointing straight up, and then I made it go 45 minutes and be up here. Okay, so from here to here would be a 90-degree angle, and then another 90 to get here, that's 180, another 90 to get here, so that gives me a 270-degree turn. Okay? Next, number 8, we have a parallelogram. They want to know the perimeter and then the area. Okay? Well, our perimeter, the formula they gave us in this lesson, is 2 bases. Here's a base, here's a base, plus 2 sides. Here's a side, here's a side. My base measures 12 inches. My side measures 10 inches. So 2 times 12 is 24, plus 2 times 10 is 20. 24 plus 20 gives me 44 inches for the perimeter. Okay? B wants the area, base times height. Hopefully you remembered if my base and my height have to form a right angle. Okay, so I'm going to use 9 inches for my height. 12 inches times 9 inches gives me 108 inches squared. Number 9, they want us to turn 7/20ths into a decimal number and a percent. Okay, 7/20ths. So there were a couple of ways we could go about this. I might say, oh, well, my denominator is 20, but it's really easy to get to a denominator of 100, which lets me go to decimal, right? 20 times 5 gives me 100. Do the same thing on the top. 7 times 5 is 35 hundredths. I can say it as a fraction, 35 hundredths. I can write it as a decimal, 35 hundredths. Okay? Now, going back to here. If I write my 7/20ths as a fraction with a denominator of 100, if my denominator is 100, the top number is my percent. So as a percent, this is 35%. Okay? Or you could have started with 7/20 and treated it as a division problem. 7 divided by 20. 7 divided by 20. And you would still end up with 35 hundredths. Okay? Remember that you can pause the video at any time to really take a look at what is on the board if you are not understanding something. Okay, next we had our subtraction of a fractional number or a mixed number from a whole number. Okay? 5 minus 1 2/5. So I changed my 5 into a mixed number. Okay? So my 5 became 4 and 5/5, because 4 and 5/5 is the same thing as 5. Now I can take away 1 2/5, and my final answer is 3 3/5. Okay, now we had a division problem with a mixed number. 6 2/3 divide by 100. Okay, now my first step is I need everything to look like a fraction. So I changed 6 2/3 to 20/3. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 2 is 20 over 3. Divide by, I turn 100 into a fraction by putting it over 1. Okay, now I have fraction divided by fraction, which means fraction times reciprocal. The reciprocal of 100 is 1 over 100. Okay? So then I multiplied. 20 times 1 is 20. 3 times 100 is 300. Then I have to do some reducing. I reduce top and bottom by 10. I get 2 over 30. I reduce them again by 2's, and I get 1/15. Number 20, 6y equals 10. Okay, so when I have one of these, I know the product. I know one factor, so I can divide the product by the factor I know to get the factor I don't know. 10 divided by 6 is 1 4/6. Okay, 6 will go into 10 one time. 6 times 1 is 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. My remainder, I'm going to turn into a mixed number. Okay, our remainder turns into a fraction, which goes into a mixed number with my whole number here. Okay, this reduces to 1 2/3. Okay. Next, we have a proportion, and we need to solve to find the missing number. Okay, w over 20 is equal to 12 over 15. Remember, if I have two equal fractions, their cross products are also equal. So I did 15 times w has to be equal to 20 times 12. Okay? 20 times 12 is 240. 15 times w is 15w. Now it looks like the problem I just had. I know the product. I know a factor. I can divide the product by the factor I know to get the factor I don't know. 240 divide by 15, and your answer is 16. W equals 16. Okay, number 22. Number 22. Area of this triangle. Okay? Area of a triangle, the formula is base times height divided by 2. This is our base. Make sure you don't use this as a height. A base and a height have to form a right angle. So my base is 6 feet. My height is 4 feet. 6 feet times 4 feet is 24 feet squared. Divide by 2. My final answer is 12 feet squared. Okay? Next, they want to know volume. Okay? They show you that cube in feet, but then they also show it to you in inches. They want the volume in cubic inches. So I'm going to use the inches part. 12 inches times 12 inches times 12 inches. Okay? I did my first two together. That gives me 144 inches squared. Times another 12 inches. My final answer is 1,728 inches cubed. Okay, number 24, they want the prime factorization of 225. But they want it written in exponents, with exponents. Okay, so I did my factor tree. 225 is 25 times 9. I got to keep going because these are not prime. 25 is 5 times 5. These are both prime, so I can stop there. 9 becomes 3 times 3. Those are both prime, so I can stop there. So my prime factorization is 3 times 3 times 5 times 5. But they want the answer written with exponents. So this turns into 3 squared times 5 squared is my final answer. Number 26. It says on a number line, the square root of 60 is between what two whole numbers? Consecutive whole numbers. Okay, well, I can see that 60 is not a perfect square. Nothing times itself will give me 60. So I want to think about what is a perfect square that is just below 60. What is a perfect square that is just above 60? Well, the perfect square below 60 is 49. I know that 49 is 7 times 7. The perfect square just above 60 is 64, because 64 is 8 times 8. Okay, so the square root of 60 has got to be somewhere between 7 and 8. Okay, so your answer is 7 and 8. Okay, last one. Last one. Number 28, they ask you to graph these points and then to draw the square, complete the square. My square probably doesn't look like a square because, remember, my board makes everything too long, okay? But hopefully you graphed the points correctly and then you drew lines to make a square, okay? Okay, hope you did well. See you later.